Okay, so imagine this. You're at the mall, right, just doing some window shopping, and you see someone just casually walking out of Lululemon.
With like bags and bags of
Yeah,
stuff.
like thousands of dollars worth of merchandise. You'd think, no way, impossible, right? Well, guess what? It actually happened.
Oh, yeah.
You sent us a news story and a video transcript all about a really wild case of organized retail theft. And that's exactly what we're diving into today.
That's right.
And this isn't like your run-of-the-mill shoplifting. We're talking multiple states, crazy strategy, and a whole lot of Lululemon leggings.
Yeah, this is a whole other level.
Yeah.
It's incredible how organized and just sophisticated retail crime has become these days.
Mm-hmm.
This case really kind of throws a wrench in the idea of, just a simple shoplifting.
Right.
This is like, carefully planned, executed operation. The scale of it is impressive.
It really is. So let's start at the very beginning. It all started with a couple who got caught red-handed at a mall in Minnesota.
Classic start.
Right. They set off the security alarm as they were leaving, and the police officer who showed up had already gotten a heads up from a Lululemon investigator.
So they were already on the radar.
Exactly. This couple was already on their radar for potential theft. But here's the thing. Even with the alarm blaring and the tip-off they got, they were still allowed to walk away.
So that's interesting, right? Because, the fact that they were initially let go, despite all those red flags, it's kind of perfect example of the challenges that retailers face, right? It's like this balancing act they have to do between, security measures and like providing a good customer experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Because no one wants to feel like, they're being scrutinized or accused every time they walk into a store.
Of course not.
But in this case, it seems like maybe that leniency backfired a bit.
Oh, big time. Later on, police searched the couple's hotel room, and get this, they found 12 suitcases, jam-packed with an estimated $50,000 worth of Lululemon gear. All brand new, tags still on them. And to make matters even worse, the couple had initially denied even being at the mall that day.
No way.
Yeah, and they claimed they were staying with family, not at a hotel.
Oh, busted.
Yeah, totally busted. And this is where it gets even crazier. The Lululemon investigator revealed that this couple had actually been in Minnesota just a few months before, doing the same thing. Between the two trips, they managed to steal about $30,000 worth of merch. And they weren't just hitting one store. We're talking 5 different Lululemon stores.
In one day.
In one day.
Rich.
Talk about a shopping spree, right?
That's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, that level of activity, that's not, some random shoplifting. That is organized. It screams like, organized operation. They're not just grabbing a few things here and there. They're systematically targeting specific brands, specific locations
No way.
to maximize their haul. It's almost like, business-like in its efficiency, which is kind of a scary thought when you think about it.
It is. And they had this very clever tactic that they called the return scam. Basically, they would buy a few cheap items just as a distraction while their accomplices were loading up on the expensive stuff.
It's like a diversion tactic.
Yeah, totally. And get this, they even had this device to detach security tags from the stolen items.
Oh, wow.
And then they would reattach them to the items that they had actually bought.
It's almost fascinating in a way how complex these schemes have become,
Yeah.
Think about it. They're exploiting this trust that's built into retail return policies.
Right.
Using legitimate purchases as a cover for stolen goods. Just shows you how organized these rings are. They're constantly adapting, constantly, figuring out new ways to slip through the cracks.
Right.
It's really remarkable.
Yeah.
It really is. It really shows you how these organized retail theft rings, they're thinking about everything. They're planning it out. And this whole case just drives home the need for, like a more comprehensive strategy when it comes to tackling this, this organized retail crime.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not just about, catching the bad guys after the fact. It's about,
Prevention.
Prevention, exactly, detection, and just like collaboration from the get-go.
So what does that look like? Like in reality, what kind of strategies are retailers like adopting to try and like stay ahead?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. Yeah. Well, I think technology is a huge factor.
Okay.
Retailers are investing a lot of money in advanced security systems.
Okay.
Things like, intelligent video surveillance.
Okay.
That can like flag suspicious behavior in real time.
Oh, wow.
Even facial recognition software to identify, repeat offenders.
Oh, wow.
And we're also seeing this rise in the use of RFID tags and other tracking technologies to basically like keep a closer eye on their inventory
Okay.
and make it that much harder for these thieves to make off with large amounts of merchandise.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it also seems like data analysis is becoming increasingly important too, right? Like the ability to kind of connect the dots between incidents
Absolutely.
and like spot emerging patterns.
Yeah, that's huge. Retailers are starting to utilize sophisticated data analytics now
Right.
to identify those trends and, even anticipate potential criminal activity.
Wow.
They're analyzing everything from sales data, return patterns, to like even social media activity to like really zero in on those possible threats.
Wow.
Think of it like this. If there's a sudden spike in returns
Right.
for like a specific item
Right.
at a particular location, that could be like a
Right.
sign
A red flag.
or yeah, something's up,
Uh,
that organized retail theft might be at play.
yeah. It's like a chess match with both sides just kind of constantly adapting,
Oh, absolutely.
trying to outmaneuver each other.
It's a cat and mouse game for sure.
Yeah. So you mentioned collaboration earlier. Who are retailers working with to try and combat this problem effectively?
Well, it really does take a village,
Right.
Retailers are teaming up with law enforcement agencies,
Okay.
sharing information, sharing
Yep.
intel
Right.
to try to, track down these criminal rings,
Okay.
bring them to justice.
Yeah.
And we're also seeing increased cooperation between retailers themselves.
Okay.
They're sharing best practices.
Right.
They're sharing data, to create this like more unified front against, this growing issue.
So it's all about communication and like swift action.
Absolutely.
The faster information is shared, the better equipped everyone is to respond.
Exactly.
But what about us? What about like, consumers? Is there anything we can do to kind of like help in this fight?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Consumers play a vital role.
Okay.
Just being vigilant
Okay.
and reporting any suspicious activity you see
Right.
can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Like the old saying, if you see something, say something.
Yeah.
It's also really important to be mindful of, where and how you buy merchandise.
Okay.
Be wary of deals that seem too good to be true,
Right.
especially online, because this could be a sign of, stolen goods being sold at a discount.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's a really good point. If something seems off, just, trust your gut.
Yeah, trust your instincts.
Speaking of online, how has like the rise of e-commerce impacted this whole like organized retail theft?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Okay.
On one hand, online marketplaces have unfortunately become, a little bit of a hotbed for the sale of stolen goods.
Right.
It's just easier for these thieves to move merchandise quickly and anonymously in the digital space. But on the flip side, e-commerce has also given us new tools to fight back.
Okay.
Retailers are now using, sophisticated algorithms to track online listings for stolen goods.
Wow.
And they're working really closely with law enforcement to shut those operations down.
So it's like a digital arms race,
It really is.
constantly evolving.
Constantly evolving, yeah.
So where do we go from here? Like, what does the future hold for organized retail theft and like the battle to stop it?
Well, that's the crystal ball question,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I think it's safe to say, we're going to see even more emphasis on technology
Okay.
and data analytics
Right.
in this fight against, organized retail crime.
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence, machine learning. These are all going to become even more, integral
Right.
to detecting suspicious activity
Oh, okay.
and anticipating future trends.
Okay.
And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see like some really innovative approaches to security
Yeah.
emerge in the coming years, like things like, using drones for surveillance
Oh.
or even, robots patrolling store aisles.
Wow.
Things that we might have thought were science fiction a few years ago
Right.
could become reality.
So it sounds like the fight against organized retail theft is entering like a whole new era.
It really is.
But at the end of the day, it's not just about technology, right? Like we need to look at like the root causes that are driving this problem.
You hit the nail on the head, We can't just arrest our way out of this problem. We have to understand like why are some individuals drawn to this type of criminal activity?
Yeah.
What are the economic pressures,
Right.
the social influences, or even like psychological motivations at play here?
Right. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion.
Exactly.
We can't just like, throw people in jail and expect that to solve the problem. We
Yeah.
need to understand like the root causes and find ways to address those.
100%.
And that brings us back to the importance of avoiding generalizations.
Yes.
Attributing this criminal behavior to entire communities or demographic groups
Yeah.
is not only inaccurate,
Right.
but it also prevents us from finding real solutions.
You're absolutely right. We need to approach this issue with nuance.
Right.
And understanding, recognizing that crime is a complex phenomenon
Yeah.
influenced by, a myriad of factors.
Right.
And I think it's also worth considering the role that social media might be playing in all this.
Yeah.
This constant pressure to project an image of success and affluence
Right.
fueled by, the carefully curated online personas
Yeah.
can create like this really distorted sense of reality for some people.
Right.
And I wonder, could that be driving some individuals to these extreme measures
You're right.
just to try and keep up appearances?
It's like the dark side of that influencer culture
Yeah.
where, material possessions are often equated with self-worth.
It's true. And it's not just individuals either.
Right.
Businesses contribute to this too.
Right.
With, the constant barrage of advertising.
Right.
This relentless push to, buy more stuff.
Yeah.
This, subtle message that we're never quite enough.
Yeah.
It all feeds into this culture of materialism
Yeah.
that can have some, unintended consequences.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it's a systemic issue
Yeah.
that demands, I think, a systemic response.
Okay.
We need to be having some honest conversations, about our values,
Right.
about our priorities,
Yeah.
about the real impact of our choices.
Right.
We need to challenge this idea that happiness comes from owning things.
Yeah.
And we need to create a society where everyone has the opportunity to thrive, regardless of their background or their economic status.
Yeah. I think that's really important.
Yeah, no question about it. It's kind of like this constant back and forth, right?
Right.
This tug of war between all the security measures and then just the ingenuity of these criminals. It's like as technology gives retailers more tools to try and prevent theft, it's almost like it also gives these, savvy criminals new ways to exploit those same systems.
Right.
It's a never-ending cycle. And it's funny because it's not just retail, it's everywhere,
Yeah.
right?
It really is.
Think about cybersecurity. The more reliant we become on technology, the more vulnerable we are to those who know how to exploit it.
Right.
It's kind of a paradox, isn't it?
It really is. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, how do we find that sweet spot?
Yeah.
That balance between security and convenience, between privacy and protection.
Right. It's tricky.
Yeah.
Like imagine a world with truly ironclad security in retail settings.
Right. I mean, it would probably involve like constant surveillance, strict limits on returns, maybe even, profiling customers.
Right.
Would we be willing to accept that trade-off?
I don't know. That's a tough call.
Yeah.
No one wants to feel like they're constantly being watched or treated with suspicion when they're just trying to buy a pair of yoga pants.
Right.
But at the same time, we don't want these businesses and individuals to become victims of these really elaborate theft schemes. It's a hard balance to strike.
It really is. And that's why this conversation needs to go beyond just the security tactics, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
We have to address, the underlying societal factors, like what contributes to organized retail theft in the first place? And why are some individuals drawn to this type of criminal activity? What are the economic pressures, the social influences, maybe even the psychological motivations that are at play here?
Yeah, it's like you said before, peeling back the layers of the onion.
It is. We can't just arrest our way out of this problem.
Nope.
We need to understand the root causes and find ways to address those, right?
100%. And that brings us back to, what we were talking about earlier, the importance of not generalizing.
Right.
Not attributing criminal behavior to whole communities or demographic groups. I mean, it's not only inaccurate, it prevents us from finding, real solutions.
Right.
And, I think it's also worth thinking about the role that social media might be playing in all this.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you've got this constant pressure to project a certain image, of success, affluence, and it's all fueled by these, carefully curated online personas.
Right.
It can create this really like distorted sense of reality for some people.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, could that be driving some individuals to these extreme measures, just to try and keep up appearances?
It's kind of like the dark side of that whole like influencer culture, right?
Right.
Where material possessions are just equated with self-worth. And it's not just individuals either.
Right.
Businesses kind of contribute to this too. The advertising, the constant push to buy, buy, buy. It's like this message that we're never quite enough.
Yeah, it's true. And it all just feeds into this culture of materialism, right?
Right.
And that could have, some pretty significant unintended consequences. It's a big issue.
It is.
It's a systemic issue.
Yeah.
That really, I think, demands a systemic response.
So what does that look like?
Well, I think it starts with conversations.
Okay.
Having honest conversations about our values, our priorities, the real impact of our choices as individuals, as consumers. We really need to challenge this idea that happiness comes from owning things.
Yeah.
And we need to build a society where everyone has that opportunity to thrive, regardless of their background, their economic status.
Yeah, that's really important.
It is.
Wow, this whole deep dive into organized retail theft it's been really eye-opening.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It really is. We've gone from like the really intricate details of the crime itself to exploring these broader implications, for our culture and for our economy.
It's all connected.
It really is.
It really is.
And we've talked about, the constantly evolving tactics of these criminals, the role that technology plays in both like perpetrating and combating these crimes, and really like the critical importance of addressing those root causes of this behavior.
Yeah, it's not just about catching the bad guys. It's about understanding why the bad guys become bad guys in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah. And we've also talked about, avoiding those harmful stereotypes.
Absolutely.
Acknowledging that crime is this complex issue with so many like contributing factors. This case it's a real like stark reminder that the world's changing
Fast.
really fast.
Yeah.
And we really need to adapt our thinking, our strategies, even like our values to keep up.
Couldn't agree more.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, for everyone listening out there, think about what you've learned and how you can apply it to your own life, your own community, your own sphere of influence. The answers might surprise you.
They might. And remember, knowledge is power.
It is.
And with that power comes responsibility.
Right.
Yeah. So let's use it wisely.
Well said. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.